All right, here we are on Sunday. The last weekend of college football is in the books. And what a weekend, a rivalry weekend that it was. And the whole season just went by way too fast for me. I can't believe that we've already played 12 games and that the season is almost over. I look forward to this time of year, the entire offseason. And the offseason always seems way too long, and the regular season, it just goes by so quick. And the older I get, the faster it goes. So really, it's sad. I can't believe the season's already over. But what a weekend! So many good games. A lot of upsets, a lot of drama, a lot of stuff got shaken up. Rivalry weekend, a lot of teams went down that shouldn't have. We'll talk about all that momentarily. But the first thing, obviously, I want to talk about is Georgia and Georgia's win over Georgia Tech. I did go to the game. Shout out to my brother-in-law for the absolute best seats I've ever sat in Sanford Stadium. Truly incredible. And there's a lot of things that I want to say about this game. Number one, I'm happy that Georgia won the game. I knew that the game was going to be close. We did a score prediction, all of us on the way to the game. I predicted it to be 27-20 Georgia. I wasn't too far off from what it was going to end up being in regulation, but then, with all the overtimes, of course, it got a little bit more than that. So number one, I'm happy that Georgia won. I knew that it was going to be a tough game. Just based off of the way that Georgia Tech played us last year, we're a tired football team. We're a beat-up football team. They had 2 more days to prepare for this game than we did. The fact that Buster Faulkner was on our staff and knows how Kirby Smart runs his defense so well, I thought that was an advantage for Georgia Tech. I also thought it was an advantage late in the overtimes with Kirby Smart calling the timeouts every chance that he got to counter whatever formation it was that Georgia Tech was in. Of course, the beginning of the game was beyond frustrating. Let me just say this. We got to the game 90 minutes before kickoff. The student section over by the band was totally full, as usual. The student section in the end zone was probably 80% full. There was a lot of energy in the stadium. The crowd was really hyped up. We had a really, really good crowd, a lot of energy, a lot of crowd noise. Everybody was very excited when the game started. And despite Georgia doing everything they could to take the crowd out of the game in the first half, I've got to tip my hat and give a shout out to the Sanford Stadium crowd. Even to the people over there in the rich side, on the rich side of the stadium, the season ticket holders under the boxes on the Georgia sideline. That's where I was sitting this time. Even everybody over there was making crowd noise the entire game. Hats off to the Georgia fans. We showed up and we did our job. We were loud the entire time. The crowd really helped keep Georgia in that game. We were down 17 at halftime. And we were still making noise on every down, especially on third down. The stadium's going to get louder on third down. But every down, we were still making noise and trying to fight and help keep Georgia in the football game. And the game didn't start out how we wanted. We could not stop that fake swing pass to the outside and then the Haynes King draw right up the middle. The entire game until the overtime, it seems like, is the first time that we stopped it. Actually, in regulation right there when Dan Jackson forced the fumble was probably the first time that we stopped it, but struggled to stop them running the football the entire night. And I just want to say that this is why sports, especially football, is the greatest life teacher that you could possibly have. Because for Georgia to be down 17 at halftime, to be down 14 with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter, for them to fight to the very end and come out on top, that just goes to show that no matter what the scoreboard says, no matter what circumstance you're facing in life, if you keep your nose down and you try your very best and you keep fighting as hard as you possibly can to the very end, you can come out on top and you can come out victorious like Georgia did. And even if you fall short, even if you don't win the game, even if you don't reach your goals that you want to reach, you can at least come out of that failure, out of that loss, respected because you tried your very best and you can come back better the next week. Just never, ever quit. And so I'm proud of the team that they never quit. They stayed together. They fought to the very end, fought through 8 overtimes, and they were able to get the victory. Hats off to Georgia Tech. I've got to say that. salute to Georgia Tech for coming in there and playing such a good football game. Georgia Tech has really, really improved these past few seasons. Like I said in my previous video, I'm not a Georgia Tech hater. I just don't have that hate in my heart for Georgia Tech. They've never really been good. They've never really been a threat. It sucks to lose to them, but I love Georgia. I love the state of Georgia. I love Metro Atlanta. So whatever's good for Georgia, I just feel like it's good for the state. So I've got no hate in my heart for Georgia Tech. I'm just not one of those Georgia fans. Tennessee's a whole other story. I can't stand Tennessee. I hate Tennessee. That's my most hated rival. But and when Georgia Tech is good, at least there's a benefit to this game when Georgia beats them. Now, Georgia Tech hasn't reached the heights that they want to reach. I think Georgia Tech can get to be a 10-win team. And at least if Georgia Tech is a 10-win team, then Georgia gets some credit for beating them. Unlike how it's been recently where it's just like, well, you're supposed to beat them. So if we beat them, there's no reward for beating them. And if we lose to them, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. So happy that Georgia Tech is improving. So a great game. It was an exhausting game. I will say that. I didn't get home until 3 o'clock in the morning. Having to sit there in the cold and yell that entire game was exhausting. It was physically exhausting, mentally exhausting. I lost my voice. Still haven't recovered. My lips are chapped. My skin is dry. It was rough out there. It was cold. It was miserable. But we stayed there and we fought to the very end of that game. So salute to Georgia for getting that done. For Kirby Smart, I felt like Kirby Smart really had the team dialed in those overtimes and put us in the right plays on defense that was able to get us to victory. Nate Frazier played incredibly well for a freshman. I thought that Carson Beck played well, given the circumstances. And I just want to read a post really quick as we move away from this. Game, I posted this on Dog Nation or what is it? Gata Dog Nation Elite. It's a Facebook group on Facebook. If you're not a member of it and you're a Georgia fan, I suggest you join. It's a pretty good group. But I said there are a few things that I want to say about our team. While this is one of the most frustrating Georgia teams I've watched in my entire life, this team and this season, they have fought their ass off. This team does not have the talent or the depth that they have had the past few seasons, yet they have still found a way to make it through the country's hardest schedule, 10-2. Despite all the adversity that this team has faced and how bad they have played at times this season, who had the SEC championship game spot locked up first? Georgia. Who is the only team to beat the mighty Texas Longhorns? Georgia. Who has been to 4 SEC championship games in a row? Georgia. Who is every team we play Super Bowl in the game they circled a year ago to get ready? Georgia. Whose players have never lost a home game in their college career? Georgia. Who dictates how the rest of this season goes? The Georgia fucking Bulldogs. If this team can catch the ball, execute on offense and tackle, we will beat anybody that they put in front of us. The hardest times are behind this team. No more on the road, 7:30 at night, week in and week out, in front of 70,000 to 100,000 fans that hate our guts, screaming as loud as humanly possible when our offense has the ball, week after week after week. Those times are over. The SEC championship game should be 60-40, Dog Nation. Find a way to beat this Texas team again, and we are in the driver's seat to go win this thing. We should beat Texas again. I really like this matchup. Kirby Smart has been successful at shutting down offenses like this his entire career. No mobile quarterback to escape the pocket. Send our boys loose to get his ass on the ground. If we play our best, we will beat Texas, and we will have time to rest up. I really like our chances if this happens. The next thing I want to talk about is Carson Beck. Has Carson Beck pissed me off this season at times? Absolutely. However, this kid has fought his ass off for 4 years to be in this position, and he has been our starting quarterback for 2 seasons, 6 years total at Georgia. His receivers has not helped him much this season by not catching the ball. They fucking suck at catching the ball, if I'm being entirely honest. Most drops in the country and only a 22% contested catch ratio is pitiful and good for 122nd in the nation out of 132 teams. Carson Beck has played good football these past few weeks. Imagine if our receivers caught all the balls that hit them in both hands. Carson Beck has ran and put his shoulder down, running the ball, putting his body on the line all season. He has overcame adversity and fights to the very end. To anyone at the game on Saturday night or at home watching, calling for Gunnar Stockton, number one, it's not happening if it hasn't happened by now. Number two, has it ever entered into your mind how much better Carson Beck must be than Gunnar Stockton for Carson Beck to have three interception games in a row and for Kirby Smart not to make the switch? If our receivers can step up, even some of the young ones, Nitro Tuggle and Anthony Evans, and we can get Colby Young back, this offense is going to be dangerous. The last thing I have to say is shout out to Dan Jackson and Cash Jones, two walk-on guys who have made big-time plays for this Georgia team in clutch moments. Have we had some rough spots in this season? Hell yeah. But here we sit in control of our own destiny with all of our preseason goals in front of us. It's about us. To anybody who goes to the rest of the games, to any of the rest of our games, I'm done. I've been to 4, and it's time for Christmas shopping. Last night's Tech game should be all the proof that you need to stay until the game is end and make noise for these dogs until the clock says 0-0-0. I love that this team fights to the end, and we need to do the same as fans. I love Georgia football. I love Dog Nation. I love this team. Gotta. So that was something that I wrote last night. Just some thoughts that I had on the team and on the season. I've bitched to high hell this season about a lot of things. I think it's acceptable for you as a fan, especially a fan that loves Georgia as much as I do, that when the team has deficiencies, I think it's okay for diehard fans to point those things out. I also think that when the team does things well, you need to point those out and give credit where credit is due. So despite everything that we have faced this season, this Georgia team is still in the driver's seat to go win the college football playoff, the SEC, and another national championship. If this team can play their best football from here on out, if we can find a way to beat Texas, which I do think we will do, this Georgia team will get a bye, will get time for some rest, some time to get better, some time to get some young receivers, some experience, some time for Nate Frazier to get some more experience, some time for our young players in the secondary to get some more experience. If we can beat Texas, it's looking really, really, really good for this Georgia team, and I like our chances. Every team this season is flawed. So for Georgia to come out by far the country's hardest schedule, 10-2, for them to be in the situation that they were against Georgia Tech and to come all the way back from 17 down and win that game, down 14 with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, I look at that as a positive. Georgia Tech had everything to play for. This was their Super Bowl. This was their bowl game. This is the game that they've been focused on all season. Georgia didn't need to win this Georgia Tech game to go to the playoff. And no matter what you say, that's got to be in the back of the minds of these 18 to 22 to 24-year-old kids. It just is. It just is. So for Georgia to find a way to win that game was impressive. I think we've got to give credit to the team for fighting. We've got to give credit to the coaching staff for the adjustments that we've made. And we've got to give a lot of credit to the fans. On to Texas. I really like this matchup against Texas. People ask me who I would rather play again, Texas or Texas A&M. And I always said I wanted to play Texas. I don't want to play the mobile quarterback. That's where this Georgia defense struggles. But I really like the matchup against Texas. If we can find a way to stop the run and get them in third long again and send our boys loose in front of a mostly friendly crowd, I expect it to be 60-40 Georgia fans. I really like Georgia's chances to get this done. We just have to catch the ball, tackle well, execute, and stay ahead of down and distance on offense. And I think Georgia will win this game. Nothing I saw from Texas last night against Texas A&M has me worried about this game. Nothing. This is going to be mostly a home crowd. This isn't on the road in Austin like last time. Not that that was a threatening or hostile environment. Nothing like it was at Bryant-Denny. Nothing. Doesn't even compare. I would argue that Kentucky was a harder road environment than Texas. And that's not a disrespect to Texas. I'm just telling you as somebody that's watched this team play over the course of years and years and years and years, what I saw from the Texas game at Texas, it was not a difficult place to play. It just was not. It just was not. Their stadium wasn't all that impressive. The noise wasn't all that impressive. It was nothing close to what they faced at Alabama. It just was not. I like the matchup. I like the matchup of our defense against Quinn Ewers. If you go back in time and you look at how Kirby Smart has done against these spread offenses, when they don't have a mobile quarterback. You can look at the Notre Dame game twice. You can look at any Tennessee game. You can look at the Texas game from earlier this season. Kirby Smart does a really good job of shutting these spread offenses down with a pocket passer quarterback. And I don't care if you put Arch Manning in there. Jalen Milroe is not walking through that locker room onto the field this coming Saturday. I don't even think Arch Manning has near the mobility that Joe Burrow had. I thought Joe Burrow was a much more mobile quarterback than Arch Manning. So I don't really care who Texas puts back there. I really like Georgia to go win this game. I expect us to be motivated. It's at home in front of our fans in our second stadium. You got to find a way to go out there and get it done. I do expect Georgia to get it done. And I really, really, really like Georgia's chances in this game. If we find a way to win this game, I really like Georgia to go win this thing, man. Like, we really have a chance here. And if Kirby Smart is able to pull that off with this team and the deficiencies that we've had and the talent drop-off that we've had at numerous positions that I've been naming all season long, leading the country in drops with a 22% contested catch ratio, it's got to be one of Kirby Smart's best coaching jobs. And I do think that Kirby Smart is the best coach in the country. I think he will prove that Saturday against the Texas Longhorns. All right, on to some other teams. Let's start off with the most obvious one. Shame and embarrassment belongs to the Ohio State Buckeyes. For you to lose that game with everything in front of you, at home in front of your fans after losing 3 in a row, paying $28 million for your roster, bringing Chip Kelly in as the offensive coordinator, for you to lose that game to a depleted Michigan team that had 6 wins, 17 starters gone to the transfer portal of the NFL, shame on you. That was embarrassing. That was an embarrassing defeat for Ohio State that had everything to play for. Not only did you get your ass kicked in the game and lose the game, you got your ass kicked in the fight after the game. The Ohio State Patrol had to come and save you from that ass whooping after the game with pepper spray and mace the Michigan players that were whooping your ass after the game, after they whooped your ass for 60 minutes on the field. Ryan Day, soft as cotton candy. I don't know if Ryan Day is going to survive this. I don't care. I don't like Ryan Day. You know, I used to be somewhat okay with Ohio State. I grew up hating Michigan. Since Ryan Day has gotten to Ohio State, I really don't like Ohio State now. I don't like Ryan Day. And just the fact that you lose that game, man, when you had to win it, when you have the more talented roster, you have the better coaches, you're sitting there at home with everything on the line, you lose. Shame on Ohio State. That's 3 losses. You lost to Oregon. You lost to Michigan on the field. You lost to Michigan in the fight after the game. That's 3 losses. You're disqualified from the playoff. South Carolina deserves to be in that playoff more than Ohio State. Get them out of there. The next game I want to talk about is the Clemson South Carolina game. What a battle that was. What a fight to the very end that was. And salute to Shane Beamer and South Carolina for going in to Death Valley and being able to get that win on the road against a Clemson team that also had everything to play for. They didn't know that Miami was going to lose. And Shane Beamer's able to go into enemy territory against an in-state rival and get it done on the road. We got to give Shane Beamer some credit, as goofy as the dude is. Just, man, the way that South Carolina's playing right now, as a Georgia fan, I'm just being real with you guys. I always keep it real with y'all. I would not want to play this South Carolina team in a playoff. I really would not. Georgia's got to handle business and beat Texas and get that first round bye. And we'll see what happens from there. But South Carolina's quarterback is playing really good football, giving all kinds of team troubles right now. So South Carolina's a scary team to watch. And it'll be interesting to see how the back end of that playoff bracket shakes out. I'm so interested to see those last three, 4 spots in the playoff rankings. This committee's a disaster. Y'all know my feelings on the committee. I can't stand them. Never have liked them. Didn't like it when it was 4. Didn't like it now that it's 12. I wish we would have never went away from the BCS, but that's just me. It's all about money and ratings. So I do somewhat, now that I've accepted that it is all about money and it is all about TV ratings. It's never been about the 4 best teams or the 12 best teams. It's never been about that. And it never has been that. You can see that from some of these teams that have no business being in this playoff that are going to jump other teams because they're conference champions in the Mountain West. You're going to see that it's not about the best. It's never been that. This 12 is now about including everybody, getting the best TV ratings, and making sure that every conference is included and having a few at-larges. And I don't like it. It's just a terrible format. And I don't think that this committee watches even as much football as we watch as fans. As hardcore SEC fans, Georgia fans, Ohio State fans, Texas fans, Alabama fans, fans that really, really pay attention to their team. You can't tell me the committee watches as much football as me, as any of the other big people that do YouTube, any diehard SEC fan, any diehard Ohio State fan, diehard Michigan fan, diehard Notre Dame fan. There's no way that they know more about football than the diehard fans. They prove it repeatedly, over and over again, season after season. It's not about the best 4, man. It's about ratings. This should go back to the coaches poll because at least the coaches know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to ranking these teams. And the coaches poll should determine the top 12. I'm sick of these people who know nothing about football being on a committee to determine which teams go to the college football playoff when they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Not that it matters what I think. It's not going to change because it's about money. Money makes the world go round. Money is what this college football playoff cares about. So it's not about the best 12. It's just not, as much as I dislike it. I think I've said pretty much everything that I want to say about the Georgia game, about the Georgia matchup with Texas. I really like the matchup. About Ohio State deserving to be shamed and embarrassed. I don't know what's going to happen to Ryan Day. I don't care. Ohio State's still going to find their way into the playoff. I guarantee it. Look for Alabama right there on the bubble to find their way in because of the fan base and the money they generate and the TV ratings that every Alabama game has. It's astronomical. So it'll be hard for them to keep Alabama out. Although I do think that South Carolina is playing better football at this point in the season. So I've got to jump over to Facebook Live and talk about all this over there as well. I hope that everybody had a good Thanksgiving Day weekend. We're back to work Monday morning. Hopefully I'll be back at some point in the middle of the week to give a little bit more analysis, a little bit more detail about my feelings of the Georgia-Texas game and the SEC Championship. I like my Bulldogs, though, to get it done in that game and get that first round bye and a high seed in the college football playoff. I'll see you guys later in the week. Go Dogs.